A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. Hello, and welcome back to Oversharing. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Dr. Naomi Bernstein.
What's up? How are you? Happy October.
Happy October. Halloween decorations are officially up.
Yes. We got some pumpkins.
Did you get anything? Crazy. Did you get any? Last year you just had pumpkins, I think. Did you go any bigger?
No. Well, actually, that's not true. We had these lanterns that we were supposed to use for like our backyard, but we just like never got around to like setting the whole thing up. So I put them on the front porch with assorted pumpkins. So several pumpkins.
All
so,
right,
you know,
we're inching
little by
our
little
way into festive.
Yes.
So I had a pretty interesting experience over the weekend towards the end of last week. You know, I'm a Jew who lives in the Bible Belt, basically.
Right.
And it's been sort of an interesting experience. They have, which I wasn't sure about exactly what it was, but there's, I guess, this nationwide Christian prayer, student-led Christian prayer group called See You at the Pole. And some people might know what it is if you were raised Christian. But it's basically supposed to be a group of students that decide, I don't know if it's once a year or whenever it is, to come to their school, at the school, public school or private school, but public also school, flagpole, and do a prayer service at the beginning, before school, at the beginning of the day. So already,
and who's invited to this?
Anyone who wants to go.
Okay, but it's before school.
It's before school. It's not during school. It's not mandatory. You don't get in trouble if you don't go. You know, Maddie has volleyball practice before school, and it was during that time. So I don't know exactly how it happened, but like, I guess somebody came in and said, "Hey, does anybody want to come to do this prayer before school?" You know, they came in, I think, during the practice and pulled kids out. So it wasn't technically school, but it was practice for school. And basically, she's the only Jewish kid, not only in her team, but I think perhaps in her entire school. I'm not sure. I haven't met another Jewish family yet. So her whole entire team left. And this coach said, the coach said, it's optional. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to go.
Okay.
But if she didn't go, she was going to be the only student in the gym, like by herself. I don't know if the coaches went. I don't think adults go. Whatever it was, she's, 12, doesn't want to feel left out. So she went. And I asked her what happened and how she felt and, the whole thing. And she said, well, I just went and I closed my eyes and I like prayed in my own way to like my God while everyone was praying in their Christian way. And so I was like, okay, I thought that was, lovely and nice. And she used the time for her own spirituality. But obviously it brings up these questions of separation of church and state. So the one time I got really, in a long time that I got pulled into social media, is there's like a school district Facebook group for like the parents in the school district. So when she comes home, she tells us about it. And she's kind of like, there was this girl at the flagpole that was holding up a sign saying separation of church and state. And I guess like maybe chanting or protesting at this event. One girl by herself, which I was like, wow.
Like 12?
12. Sixth grader, apparently.
Okay.
Maybe even 11, 12. So she comes home. She's telling us about the whole event. She tells us that there's this girl there protesting. And she was kind of like, I don't know what she was doing. And she didn't really understand the whole thing. And then, so I go to like the one time I really get pulled into social media, I go to the district-wide parents Facebook group and I see that somebody made a post, how dare this child, how rude, people were praying. She was interrupting their prayers and, yelling and chanting. And so the debate was basically, was this little girl rude for interrupting their prayers, or should they have not been there in the first place? So, I'm really, it's interesting because one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up, why I found it interesting personally, is like, I don't get pulled into a lot of
drama,
political social media stuff, because I'm kind of like, everyone's going to have their opinions. I'm not going to convince anyone. They're probably not going to convince me. So I'm just not going to bother making myself aware of what every person on this planet thinks about all of the issues, because it's not going to serve me and it's not going to do anything.
Sure.
But when it's like in my own community, in my own school, in my own school district, and also, admittedly, having a child who felt left out and potentially felt excluded, that little bit of protective defensiveness comes out in me. So I'm reading these social media posts and I'm like finding myself being pulled, divisive, seeking the people that are like on the separation of church and state side, and like having an urge to like make a comment, which I never do. Like I don't get involved in these things, but it's interesting because when it's like,
did you make the comment?
No, I did not. But what
didn't?
I did not make the comment.
Did you like stuff?
I liked one comment.
Okay.
Which I found out later was actually written by the father of the girl who was protesting. And the comment was basically, I give credit to this girl, not knowing, at first, that it was her father. Finding out later.
Like, that's very funny.
Yeah, okay. Not really. I mean, he came out later and said he was a father, but the initial comment wasn't like, this was my daughter and I'm so proud of her. But it was like,
okay,
I give credit to this girl who was able to stand. Yeah, it ended up being her father, which I was kind of like but I give credit to this girl who was able to stand up for what she believed in by herself. And it sparked an interesting discussion for the kids and kind of brought this issue to light. And maybe they can have some interesting debate and just kind of realize there are different parts of the issue. And so I like that comment, later finding out it was her dad.
Right.
So, but what I did do was, instead of getting involved in that social media divisive drama, I called a friend of mine who is a part of this See You at the Poll event. Like, it's supposed to be student led, but obviously there are some adults that are involved in it. They actually posted the event on like the whole entire volleyball group chat, like not group chat, but like the communication that we use from coaches to parents and students.
Okay.
So I saw, someone who was posting about this event that I know personally. And I called her and I basically said, hey, saw this thing, would love to pick your brain about it. I texted her first, so she had a little bit of a warning shot. I didn't want to totally catch her off guard. I think I had this idealistic vision of like, maybe we just make this like an open spirituality moment of like, you can meditate, you can pray to whatever God you want to pray to. You can, just as in like all religions are included in this, use the time to, kind of bring positivity or ask for, whatever it is that you need. And you think it's supposed to be a prayer for the school and the students and the teachers and all of that.
Right.
So I had this kind of idealistic vision that I would talk to her and we would like reimagine this thing. It was a fine conversation. It felt good to talk to a human to human about it versus like spewing on social media. But it was an interesting conversation. I get the point of like, maybe you shouldn't be screaming at people while they're praying, and like kind of respect. They weren't harming anybody. But I also would love it to be more inclusive. What are your thoughts?
I have a few thoughts here. I think the fact that it's before school and optional, I think is if it was just before school and optional, I think, okay, like you might not even know it was happening if you just got
Right.
to school on time. I think where the line is crossed is where they're like coming into the volleyball class and recruiting people.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a way that would make people uncomfortable. Again, even if you are, Christian and just don't really practice, you might feel uncomfortable. This isn't what you want to do or whatever. And again, I do think it's a public school, so I think it's not, I'm thinking like I used to go to Jewish summer camp and there would always be a couple of kids who weren't Jewish and there was a lot of Jewish stuff that we would do. And I would always
Right.
wonder if they felt weird about it, but like that's a sort of stated as like a Jewish summer camp. So this is this is a fully public state funded school. So I do think the protester had a point, especially given that they were coming in and asking people if they wanted to do this Christian prayer situation in the school. So I think that part was inappropriate. However, I think it's interesting, it's interesting that she had this feeling of like discomfort, which I totally get, especially when you're 12 and all you want to do is like be like everyone else and do the same thing as all your, like there's no age where you so strongly want to do the same things as all your friends are doing and dress the same and talk the same and where like whatever, like all the same shows, whatever it is. So I can see how at that age it would feel particularly like uncomfortable. But given all the stuff we talk about in here about, triggers about feeling like everyone else is doing something you're not doing. And usually that's more about like when you get older, about like life milestones or, there was a couple's dinner and there was a wedding and everyone had their song and their dance and I felt left out, or everyone has kids and I don't have kids. And, there wasn't sensitivity to the fact that I don't, I'm not in a relationship or I don't have kids or I didn't get a +1 or whatever it is. So I do think in a way it's almost like a little bit of a good practice for that.
Yep.
Again, not that it was right or wrong. I'm not fully sure yet in my head. I'm also kind of like torn. Is it okay? But I do think for her to get that at this age, to be like, yeah, I know what it's like to be in a group of people where they're all doing the same thing. And I'm a little uncomfortable because I'm a little different, or my path is a little different, might be good for her.
Yeah.
So when if she gets to those phases where she might not, be at the same exact level as all of her friends.
Totally. And you're 100% right. And I thought about that. I think obviously when we moved here, we knew that, we were going to be in the minority in this way. And I do think there is character building in learning what it feels like to be excluded or left out or not part of the crowd. So I think it is a good lesson in some ways. And some people could say, well, the lesson is, you should stand up for what's right, or you should, and
right.
Is there a part of me that wants to call the school and say they shouldn't have come into the gym and they shouldn't be posting on like the communication board, like recruiting students for this thing? Yes. But then I agree with you. The other part of me is like, maybe it's good for her to just learn how to navigate these situations. And she was put on the spot. She didn't get to call me and say, what should I do? Should I go? Should I not go? She had to just make the call of like, okay, it feels comfortable for me to go. And I can just like close my eyes and like make this experience into what I want to make this experience into without making it a me versus them thing, which I actually, I thought it was really kind of cool because the urge and like, if, if our grandma was there, she would have been not closing her eyes and making it into a spiritual moment. She would have been marching right into the principal's office and, speaking her mind. And not to say that that's the wrong way either, but I do think there is something nice in it. The takeaway, I think, is what you said, which is like, just because you feel excluded or uncomfortable or whatever doesn't mean you have to turn it into a us versus them moment.
Yes. And I think especially for something like this, where it's not like every morning is the prayer service
Yes.
before school that everyone is going to. I think that would maybe be like a different thing where it's like a chronic, intensive feeling of being left out. Like you had to go, if I had to go to a baby shower every weekend, I think it might be like a little overwhelming. But like, yeah, is
Right.
it good to just be able to like accept that you're not in the in group in this particular thing? And like you said, kind of like breathe through it and make it your own experience and make your own meaning out of it. I do think that's a valuable life lesson.
Yeah.
So,
And I caught myself because my initial, and this is like for our listeners, my initial reaction was like, what actually happened was she came home and was kind of like, it was so weird. There was this girl there and she was holding up a sign. I don't even know what she was really, trying to do. And I was kind of like, yes, like go girl. Like,
right.
and then I caught myself and I'm like, all right, take a breath. Like these children weren't, I'm sure they were giving a very nice, kind prayer. They weren't hurting anybody. They were, I don't have to turn this into a fighting moment. And I don't have to get on Facebook and turn it into because my physiology was like in this protective moment of like, my child feels left out. My people aren't being represented, me versus you. And it was good for her and me, I think, to like be able to take a breath, step back, call someone human to human, have a real conversation about it, which, it didn't necessarily change anything, but it did feel better, I think, to just get the information from someone who's on the inside. Like, this is a once a year thing. I didn't really know what it was. This is a once a year thing. It's been going on for, whatever it is, 30, 40 years. And
right.
And she said, like, I feel bad that she felt excluded. And that felt nice. Being uncomfortable is where the growth happens. And, maybe if, if Maddie's uncomfortable enough, she'll try to, see if she wants to create a club that's a spirituality club that's more inclusive. I doubt that's going to happen. I don't think she was, honestly, I don't think she was that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She's kind of used to it by now.
Right. Which is, I think, a good thing to be like, again, I'm used to like, I'm not always like the majority, or I'm can be a little different.
Yeah.
I honestly was never
that experience.
Yeah. I mean, to me, we grew up in a school where like 70% of the people were Jewish. So I think it was interesting, almost like when I started going to Christmas at Mike's house with all his cousins and his extended family and all that stuff. That was like the first time where I was like, oh, I'm the only Jew here. This is weird. And that was like me at like 30. Like, and it shouldn't be that weird. I'm just like at a holiday event, but like there is like it was like small, but there is a feeling of like, oh, that's interesting. Like this feels a little different. I'm usually like in the in group.
Yes. And I think it's good to have, because you can empathize more with people that feel that way 99% of their life. You can really empathize with that when you are in that minority. It's just funny because I didn't grow up like that. You didn't, but my kids really have that experience. I remember one day they came home, they had like an About Me poster where you were supposed to put like, whatever it is, your culture and like what you like. And so they, I have the two girls that were in school together, and one of them came home and they were like, oh my God, I think there's another Jewish kid at school. I saw this poster and had this, that, and it had like a Jewish star on it. And then Lila was like, did it have like a basketball and a rainbow in the corner? And she's like, yeah. She was like, oh, that was mine. Yeah.
Well, at least they have each other.
Yes, that is true. So anyway, it was a good learning experience for all involved, not to be part of that like divisiveness, and just, it'll evolve. But so that was an interesting experience had over the weekend. And yeah.
So that's, I think that's a great story, and also like a multi-pronged approach of like, one, I think the debate is interesting. Two, I think it's like handling a disagreement in like a constructive, calm way.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to just get so angry and riled up. And then learning to just like sit with being different and uncomfortable.
No, totally. Yeah. All these little discomforts make us stronger. So,
Agree.
all
All
right.
right. Well, let's get into our episode. If you have a voicemail you want to leave us, you can leave us a voicemail at 646-363-6294, or you can email oversharing@betches.com. Email us your feedback. Email us your questions, all your craft my texts and intentions and emails and all of it. And if you want to subscribe, you get 2 bonus episodes a month. All the episodes are ad-free a day early. Make sure you watch us on YouTube, or you can join one of Dr. Naomi's therapy groups.
Yes, come find me, naomibernstein.com. We have room, rolling admission. Let me know a little bit about what's going on, and I will match you to your perfect group. Come be part of our community. It's really pretty special. So hope to see you there.
Love it. All right, let's do a craft my text. I'll read it. Hey gals, longtime listener, first time writing in. Love the show and I always have more pep in my step when I'm listening to your show. Love it.
Awesome.
I have a friend dilemma. I'm not sure how to move forward. I guess I wanted to see what your thoughts are on this and what you do in my shoes. Apologies if it feels like a long one. I have a best friend that I've been friends with for 10-ish years. She is 2 years older. We met when I was in high school, became best friends in college, literally inseparable. And then after college, we remained really close because we ended up working for the same company for a short time. She's connected at the hip to her husband, and her husband and mine are also very close, or maybe were, I should say. We were all very close, hosted game night and dinner together 1 to 2 times a week for maybe 2 years, kind of close. Anyway, we had a baby almost 2 years ago. Shortly after we had her, those friends moved about an hour and a half to 2 hours away. We now only visit each other 1 to 2 times a year, which sucks, frankly. But it seems they constantly have plans and don't really try to make time, no matter how many times I've tried planning more hangouts. These friends have seen my baby 3 times in her life, and it felt like I worked so hard for 2 of those times. Now to my dilemma. My friend did not come to my baby's first birthday party. I planned 2 months in advance, and they texted me a few weeks prior saying they were going on a vacation. Understandable, but slightly disappointing because I would have thought my best friend would be excited for my child's first birthday. It really let me down, but I didn't say anything. Now I'm planning the second birthday party. Again, 2 months in advance. Today, I sent the invites, and a few minutes later, I get a text saying they aren't sure if they can come because she thinks they will be on a trip that weekend. For context, both parties have been on my child's birthday, so it's easy to just mark the calendar each year so as not to miss it. It feels like my family is not important to these friends. Am I wrong to expect my best friends of over 10 years who seem to love my son to come to her birthday party? I'm really hurt by the lack of effort on their part, not even just about the birthday party, but in general about making time for us. My husband says it really feels like pulling teeth to get to spend time with our friends anymore. It's not like they're friends who like to party and think they can't now because we have a baby. We're extremely low-key people, all of us. A good time for us is going shopping and then coming home to cook an amazing homemade dinner. Nothing crazy that we can't do with a kid. I think I've heard you guys say before to look at friendships as a seasonal thing, but what does that transition look like without someone feeling hurt? I have another friend who is the same age as I am and had a baby a month before my son's first birthday. This friend brought her brand new baby to my baby's first birthday, driving 2 hours one way, immediately postpartum. I find myself constantly comparing these two friends, and I know it's unhealthy, but it's hard not to when they're so similar, aside from the fact that one puts in all the effort and I feel like the other one doesn't. I feel like I give so much to my friends, and in this specific relationship, it really feels one-sided sometimes. We always try to make plans to get together during the holidays. Earlier this year, she asked me if we were still doing that or not, so that she can buy gifts if we are. That felt so forced to me, like she was questioning if we were still friends or something. But she claimed she didn't intend for it to come off that way. I personally feel like if someone doesn't want to make time to come to my son's birthday party, then are we even friends? Should I stop trying so hard to schedule time to see them? I haven't responded to her text. The way I read the text is that these plans aren't actually made yet, and she could have chosen to come to the party. I do realize I'm overanalyzing here. Don't know how to respond unless I give a nonchalant, generic, hope you can make it. Would love to hear what you both have to say. I always love hearing both of your points of view so much. Signed, tired of trying so hard when the friendship is dead, Betch. Okay, so the text from the friend says, hey, just saw your invite. We may or may not be going to Tennessee the weekend of the kids' party. I'll let you know. Okay, what are your thoughts?
So a couple of thoughts. One is just in terms of like the seasons of friendship and how to handle that without it hurting, and like it's going to hurt, right? Like I don't, just to clarify that, I think if you end up in a situation where you talk about it and you express what you're looking for in the friendship and that you want to maintain it and you both have to make effort, and she doesn't come to the table and you have to say, okay, that was a friend for this season of my life before we both had kids, when we lived in the same place, it is going to be painful. If that's the way that it ends up going, I do think there's room here to probably still express that. And that was the text that I crafted for her to kind of, kind of like what I did with my friend earlier, like give a little warning shot of like what's going to happen and then ask for a phone call to talk about it. But the other thought that I had was, this friend's 2 years older. They don't have kids. I wonder if maybe there is something there in them being like triggered or feeling, which I'm not saying is okay, to like not make effort towards a friendship because you're trying to have kids and you can't, and maybe it's upsetting, but I do think sometimes these different life stages really can come in the way of friendships, whether it, as early as, college, where someone has a boyfriend and it's hard to, make the same, or it just changes friendships, or one person's more invested in their career and it changes the friendship, or you start a family, it changes the friendship. I think this is just a reality of what happens. I'm not saying it's right, but it does tend to happen, especially combined with 2-hour distance. But I think she should just come out and say, really nicely, like, I miss you. And it's okay, you can't come to the birthdays, but like in general, this friendship feels like it's fading. I don't think it's about the birthdays. I think it's, if they were making effort on other days, I don't think the first or second birthday would be as big of a deal.
Yeah. I agree with everything you're saying. I think because she's making it about the birthdays. Listen, I wouldn't drive 2 hours to anyone's child's first birthday, potentially even yours. Like, I'm just kind of like, the birthday is like a first. I used to get invited to so many of them, and I think once people started having kids more frequently, they're like, no one without kids really wants to come to these parties,
right? Like,
and
the other friend that's coming,
has a kid.
She has a
and
kid,
has nothing to do with the kid,
and her kid probably is entertained, and she gets a balloon and some candy or whatever.
Right. And because I don't think you can compare the two, because she's postpartum, she's probably really feeling like she really wants to connect to other moms or something, like if she's in the same stage, she's really making an effort to be in that phase. I don't think most people aren't doing things for you. They're doing things for them. So it feels like it's for you because she's coming, but really she's probably like, I got to get out of this house. Let me drive to this children-friendly birthday party. Personally speaking, again, maybe I'm not a good friend, but I wouldn't cancel a vacation. I would not take a trip, a weekend I wanted to take a trip for someone else's 1-year-old's birthday. That's just me, personally, at this phase of my life.
Right.
Not having kids.
Totally. And I think I do think what ends up happening sometimes is like, especially with these long distance things, it's like, I don't want to make the one visit that we have a time when you're going to be overwhelmed and running around and hosting a party and have a million other people there. We're not even going to be able to get to like talk and hang out and really spend time together.
And our kids aren't, it's not even like we have kids that are going to have a good time,
like
and we can bring them to
play. And there is sort of, and this is probably the bigger question, right? Like, friendships are reciprocal, but sometimes a friendship starts to feel a little bit, and we have so many questions like this, like it just feels like it's not mutually beneficial sometimes at a certain point. And we like to have this fantasy that friendships are just like selfless and people are just going to be there for us. And I think to an extent they can be, but with regularity to maintain a friendship, I do think most people who are putting energy into a friendship are selfishly getting something out of that friendship. Whether it's, I love the fact that my kids are friends with your kids and they have that bond, and that makes me feel good that like we can feel closer through our kids bonding, or simply like it's something to do, like you said, or I'm lonely, I want to get out of the house, or even whatever you're getting something out of these friendships that it just seems like maybe they're not getting in the same way that it might be worth it for them to take the ride. And I know listeners are going to be like, but that's not a friend and that's not a good friend and that's not right. And I think to an extent that is true, that like we all want to have friends that are selfless and giving and feel like just spending time together should be enough. But sometimes life circumstances just makes it a little bit more appealing, and you want to do something that's less convenient because something about the life circumstances that you're in, like you might drive 2 hours to hang out with a single friend if you're single, because you're kind of like, hey, I like hanging out with other single people. I want someone to go out with.
Right. And it wouldn't necessarily be because you like think that person is so incredible. You're like, yeah, there's a lot in it for me. I'm like very excited for this plan.
Right. Yes.
But I do think, it's okay if showing up, if acts of service is this person's love language, right? And it really would mean a lot for her to come to this party. Let's say like this is how she feels love, or this is like, I think you can ask someone to be selfless, but you have to really clearly communicate that something is really important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would, like if you let's say, again, I probably go to the 1-year-old birthday party if you were
2 hours is a long ride. I could see it. Yeah.
You might skip it too.
Right. Each way. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's say it was you and you had a first birthday party and I was thinking of taking this trip on this time. I think I would, my first inclination would be that I didn't really want to go and I probably wouldn't plan to go. But if I got a text from you that was like, hey, I know it's really far. I know it's like kind of a pain in the ass. I know you don't have kids. And so like, and so you might feel like you don't need to or want to be there. But it would mean so much to me to have you there. I'm like, it's just such a big moment for me. The first birthday, like I'm so excited about it. It would mean the world to me to have you there. Of course I would come. Right. Even though I didn't want to.
Right. Yeah, I could see it being a little awkward. It's kind of like, how do you engage? Especially if most people have kids, you're kind of standing there. It's like usually, it's just not designed for adults. I totally get it.
I mean, for me, I would have my other siblings, I would assume, or like other people around there. But if I were your friend, it was just your friend from high school and everyone else is like your neighbor.
Right. Yeah, I think the other thing the friend could have done, kind of what you're saying, is be like, hey, we're going to be away this weekend, but would love to come and celebrate on this other day. Like even our brother Josh, he lives about 45 minutes away and he has younger kids than mine. And they usually have their birthday party like early in the morning because their kids are probably up at like 6 a.m. So they have a birthday party at like 9 o'clock on a Saturday, and it's 45 minutes away. And so whenever I politely decline, which you do,
okay,
I always say, how about we celebrate on this other day at this other time where we don't have to wake up at like 7:30 in the morning on Saturday to get ready to go to this birthday party where like he's really with his friends. My kids are much older than these kids, and like, let's celebrate a different time. But acknowledging that like, I want to be with his kid and celebrate his kid, and I love him and I want to bring him a present and make him feel special and do nice things. I just don't exactly want to do it in this exact way. And people might disagree with that, but I do. And they don't seem to care. Like, I think they're kind of like, I don't want to have to worry about you standing here and like just getting stuck in traffic and being late to an hour-and-a-half party that you woke up in the morning for, and now you get here and it's going to be over in 45 minutes or like whatever the thing happens.
Yeah.
So
like he might just be inviting you because you're his sister, and like, of
Right.
course he's going to invite you to the party, and like, of course he would be happy if you were there, but he also doesn't really care if you're not.
Right. But I do think I think sometimes as a parent, showing love for someone showing love for your child is like important in your relationship with them. Like if you don't seem to care about my child, it's hard for me to feel close to you.
Right.
So I think that's maybe part of what's happening here too. So even if she couldn't come to this thing, to be able to say, I really want to see your child, I miss him, or I want to bring him a present, or whatever is happening. Like, I think that would probably,
I agree,
make this whole thing easier. But I do think that it's not even my hunch is it's not about the party. And the text that I wrote back that I think maybe she should write instead of just like, hope you can make it, because this is a bigger issue, is I totally get if that weekend doesn't work, but to be honest, I'm really feeling the distance growing in our friendship in general since you moved. I know it can't be the way it was before, but would still very much like to try to stay close, visit, and be at each other's life events when we can. I just miss you guys a lot. Maybe we can find a time to talk about all this and catch up.
love that.
Yeah.
Clears the air.
Clears the air. Like, it's not about this. I get that you can't come, but like, hey, like, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. We're really distant. Like, we've only seen each other 2 or 3 times in a year when we used to see each other twice a week. Like, that's
Right.
a huge drop off.
Yeah. Although when someone doesn't lives 2 hours away, that doesn't seem like that little. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, whatever it is, you have to agree on what a friendship is. And this listener might have to say, okay, there was a season of this friendship where we were like best buds. And now in this season, we're more distant. But, I don't think it can hurt to just come at it like, I miss you. Like, I want to make an effort, and kind of, and maybe not in the text, but like when they talk on the phone, are you willing to make more of an effort? Like, what would that look like for you? And do you want to do it? And then she knows what she's dealing with, and it's not just about the birthday party.
I think that's a great text. It also kind of brings her like, again, it brings them towards you instead of away, instead of being like, I can't believe it, like you missed the last one. And it doesn't just brush it under the rug like, okay, that's a bummer or something.
Right.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like it.
I don't think someone could read that and be like, oh my God, what a bitch. Like,
right.
She's trying. She just misses, you just miss her, and you should let her know.
Yeah. That's a great opening to that conversation.
All right.